In the US, $10 only buys you a burger. But in some parts of the world, that same $10 can get you a whole seafood feast by the blue sea, listening to the waves and living as if you were on a long vacation. The problem is, most of us don't know where these places are. We're tied down by bills, by debts, and by the thought that going anywhere always means complicated visas. But the truth is, that's not the case. There are countries that let Americans enter visa-free, live safely, cheaply, and enjoy the kind of life you thought only existed in dreams. And today, I'm going to show you 5 countries where Americans can visit without a visa and live cheaply and safely. Want to know where they are? Watch until the end. You'll be surprised. And hey, don't just watch and move on, because sometimes just one small idea is enough to open an entirely new chapter in your life. Hit like and subscribe so we can keep exploring the places that can turn the dream of living free into reality. Dream it. Pack it. Go. 5. Panama. The tropical paradise with US dollars tucked in its pocket. Panama is like a handsome, versatile guy. In the morning, he's in a suit and tie in Panama City, a modern metropolis of skyscrapers and its legendary canal. By noon, he's loosened his tie, hopping on a boat to Bocas del Toro to drift with reggae rhythms. And by evening, he's wrapped in a light sweater in the cool highlands of Boquete, sipping on world-class coffee. It's the kind of country where just a turn of your heel gives you an entirely different lifestyle. What stuns Americans when they arrive in Panama, beyond its tropical beauty, is the long, visa-free ticket. 6 months of stay without needing to ask for much. 6 months, long enough to experience a rainy season and a golden dry season, long enough to settle into the locals' slow rhythm of life, and long enough to fall in love with a place so deeply you don't want to leave. And if 6 months feels like just the warm-up, Panama spoils Americans even more. It has the Pensionado visa program for retirees, requiring only a pension income above $1,000 per month. In return, you get long-term residency plus a string of perks that lift your spirits. Discounts on airfare, hospital fees, even dining and movie tickets. It's as if Panama handed you a lifelong VIP membership card. The total monthly cost ranges from $850 to $1,300 USD, from frugal to comfortable. In the US, $900 barely covers a cramped suburban room, but in Panama City, you can get a lovely apartment right downtown. Go a little farther to the Boquete Highlands, and prices get even sweeter. Just $500 to $600 for a spacious home with mountain views and gardens in bloom at your doorstep. Utilities are cheap too. Electricity hovers around $80 to $100 if you use it wisely. Water just a few bucks. And high-speed internet $35 to $40 a month. Stream yourself sipping coffee by Mount Baru to friends back in the States, and they'll be torn between envy and disbelief. Wait. Aren't you living at some luxury resort? Food is the best chapter in Panama's story. A simple local meal costs only $5 to $8, cheaper than a latte in New York. Going to the market for tropical fruit? Big, sweet mangoes, golden, fragrant bananas, or a bag of juicy tomatoes, all for just $1 or $2 per kilo. Some joke that in Panama you'll gain weight not because of fast food, but because fruit is so good and so cheap that you'll eat until you're stuffed. And if you want to switch it up with international cuisine, fancy restaurants in Panama City serve everything from Japanese sushi to American steaks at half the price compared to back home. Don't forget, living cheaply isn't enough. You need to live with peace of mind. Panama's healthcare system is a lifeline for foreigners. Private hospitals here are modern, some even directly affiliated with Johns Hopkins. A doctor's visit costs just $30 to $50, several times cheaper than in the US. One expat even said a full blood test cost them only $170, while the same service in the US could bring you to faint at the bill. Another bonus: many doctors speak English, so you won't have to struggle explaining symptoms with wild hand gestures. For retirees, just add private insurance at a few $dozen a month, and you're covered for life. In Panama City, you can find everything: luxury rooftop bars, bustling shopping malls, and right next to them, the old quarters of Casco Viejo with yellow walls, bougainvillea balconies, and salsa music echoing everywhere. If the city wears you out, just a few hours' drive takes you to Boquete, where the climate feels like Dalat: cool air, lush greenery, orchids blooming along the road. Or head out to Bocas del Toro, an archipelago where every evening the sky turns fiery red and orange. Reggae music pours out from beachside bars, and the locals smile so much, you simply can't feel sad. Mr. Jim, a retired policeman from Texas, once admitted that in his first days in Panama, he stumbled over everything. Confused by loose Balboa change at the market, filled out the wrong paperwork to open a bank account, and couldn't get a taxi driver to understand a word of English. But just a few months later, he adapted to the slow rhythm of life in Boquete. With a pension of just over $200 a month, he rented a garden home, enjoyed fine coffee every morning, and still had money left over to hang out with his expat friends. He laughed. "In the US, my pension only covered bills. In Panama, I'm living a whole new life." But no paradise is without flaws. Panama has its challenges. The rainy season from May to November sometimes drags on so long it feels like the sky is testing human patience. Bureaucracy runs on mañana culture, meaning if it's promised today, tomorrow's fine, next week's fine too. If you're used to a fast-paced life, paperwork in Panama may force you to practice the art of patience meditation. And once you leave the main expat hubs, English suddenly vanishes. Spanish becomes the survival key for calling a taxi, buying vegetables at the market, or chatting with your neighbor. So there it is, Panama, the country that keeps US dollars in its pocket. Practical enough to give you peace of mind, yet romantic enough to sweep you off your feet. Will you keep paying $1,500 for a tiny room in the US? Or try a life that costs half as much, but gives you twice the experiences in Panama? If your heart beats just a little faster at that thought, maybe Panama is already calling your name. And what about you? If in your hand you held a one-way ticket to Panama, would you dare to pack up and go right now? Leave a comment and share your thoughts. Who knows, maybe your story will inspire someone else. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so we can keep exploring more hidden paradises around the world together. 4. Dominican Republic, the Caribbean dance of life. If Panama is like a gentleman, both modern and down-to-earth, then the Dominican Republic is a fiery Caribbean dancer who lights up the whole room the moment she walks in. For Americans, all it takes is a tourist card of about $10, no complicated visa. Just like that, you've got 30 legal days to practice bachata with the Blue Sea. And if 30 days isn't enough, it's easy to extend it, stretching into 3-4 leisurely months under the golden sun. For those who fall in love with the DR long-term, the country rolls out the red carpet. A retirement visa only requires proof of pension from $1,500 per month, a passive income visa from $2,000, or a real estate purchase of $100,000 or more. In the US, use that kind of money barely buys you a tiny suburban apartment, but in the DR, it could become your ticket to a brand new chapter, even a second passport after just a few years of residency. What makes American visitors drop their jaws when living here is the cost of living. In Santo Domingo, with just $600–700, you can rent a two-bedroom apartment, with a balcony catching the morning breeze and neighbors playing guitar in the evening. If you're willing to move farther from the center, prices drop to $300–400. A street meal is only $3–5, while tropical fruits, mangoes, bananas, pineapples, go for $1 or $2 per kilo at the market. With around $1,300–1,400 a month, two people can live comfortably, with money left over for weekend beach trips and street festivals. Compared to the US, these expenses are only half, yet the experiences are twice as rich. Healthcare in the DR is like two sides of a coin. Public is cheap but lacking, while private is modern and reliable. A private hospital visit costs only $30–40. Dental work, $25, will leave your smile gleaming, and many doctors speak English, especially in Punta Cana or Santo Domingo. Smart Americans usually add international insurance for peace of mind. As the joke goes, in the US, an ER bill alone can keep you up at night. In the DR, you lose sleep only because the beach parties are too much fun. The lifestyle here is a blend of slow rhythm and endless energy. By day, locals sip coffee leisurely. In the afternoon, they play dominoes on the sidewalks, and at night, bachata and merengue flood the squares. In Las Terrenas, you'll hear French, Italian, and English mixing with Spanish. In Cabarete, you'll see hundreds of colorful kites from kite surfers painting the sky. With a large expat community, Americans never feel out of place. Just one beach BBQ, and you'll have a few new friends from all over the world. Of course, every paradise has its gray clouds. In the DR, safety is something to watch for. Pickpocketing and muggings still happen, especially in tourist areas. The golden rule is don't flaunt your wealth, avoid walking alone at night, and always be cautious when withdrawing money. Utilities can also be unreliable, and the rainy season from May to November sometimes brings heavy storms. And if you don't know Spanish, buying mangoes at the market or handling paperwork can quickly turn into a charades game. But in return, the reward is breathtaking. Sunrise in Punta Cana, as the sun rises from a blazing horizon. El Limon waterfall crashing white foam in the jungle, or the cool highlands of Jarabacoa at night. All of it makes you feel like you're living in a romantic film with a touch of adventure. Here, nature is the stage, and you're simply playing the role of someone finding their youth again. There's a small story. Mark, an IT worker from Chicago, once came to the DR just to escape winter for a month. But then month 2, month 3 passed, and he still didn't want to leave. He rented a $500 apartment in Las Terrenas, worked remotely in the mornings with Wi-Fi, swam in the sea in the afternoons, and gathered with international friends in the evenings. Mark said, "In Chicago, $500 only paid for a tiny room. Here, $500 buys me an entire open life." In the end, he extended his visa and spent half a year enjoying himself. Mark's story isn't rare. It's living proof of the irresistible pull of the Dominican Republic. So the DR is like a Caribbean song, sometimes fast and wild, sometimes tender, but always making your heart want to dance. It gives you a cheaper life, but one richer in experience. And sometimes, happiness doesn't need to be far away, just a few hours' flight from Miami. Comment anything you like. Tell me the places you'd want to go, or point out where I might be wrong. I'm truly grateful for that. And don't forget to like and subscribe so we can head to a place where you can live a whole year without a visa. 3. Georgia, where Europe hides a bottle of wine. If Panama is the free-spirited tropical gentleman, and the Dominican Republic is the fiery Caribbean dancer, then Georgia is the elegant, mysterious lady. This small nation at the crossroads of Europe and Asia surprises Americans with something rare: the right to stay up to 365 days without a visa. A full year, enough time to try living slow, watch the Caucasus covered in snow, sip ancient wine in a stone cellar, or simply ask yourself, have I found a peaceful version of myself? The cost of living is why many Americans end up staying longer than planned. With only 1,000 USD per month for one person, or 1,500 USD for a couple, you can live comfortably in the capital Tbilisi or the seaside city of Batumi. A modern one-bedroom apartment in central Tbilisi runs 300-500 USD per month, while in smaller towns like Kutaisi or Telavi, it's only 200-300 USD. Fresh food is unbelievably cheap. A basket of grapes, pomegranates, and ripe tomatoes costs only 1-2 USD per kilo. A meal at a local restaurant just 4-8 USD, and even a fancy dinner rarely exceeds 15-20 USD per person. Basic utilities like electricity, water, and gas average 50-80 USD per month. High-speed internet is just 15 to 25 USD. Public transport is extremely affordable, with metro rides at 0.20-0.30 USD and taxis 2-5 USD per trip. In short, in Georgia you spend half of what you would in the US, but you get double the experience. Healthcare in Georgia is still limited in rural areas, but in Tbilisi and Batumi, private hospitals are modern and reasonably priced. A private doctor's visit is only 30-50 USD, while private health insurance costs just a few dollars per month, far cheaper than in the US. Major doctors in the cities often speak English, making foreigners feel more secure. The Georgian people are famous for their hospitality, to the point that visitors might get invited to a dinner table just for walking by. In the morning, you can stroll leisurely through Tbilisi's old town, admiring the carved wooden balconies. In the afternoon, you can hike up to Kazbegi to see the snow-covered peaks, and by evening, sit inside a centuries-old wine cellar, raising glasses with international friends. Of course, Georgia is not perfect. Bureaucracy can teach you the art of patience. English is not widely spoken outside of major cities, and winters can be bitterly cold if you're used to California sunshine. Some border areas are also advised against visiting, but compared to the low cost of living, the diverse nature, and the warm hospitality, those drawbacks are just minor notes in an otherwise beautiful symphony. Brian, an American freelancer, decided to leave noisy New York to try living in Tbilisi. With an apartment rental of only 400 USD, he worked online in the mornings with US clients, shopped in the afternoons for fresh produce so cheap that his monthly bill was just 150 USD, and in the evenings sat enjoying hot khachapuri with international friends. Brian said, "In New York, I work to pay rent. In Georgia, I work and actually live." Georgia, with its red wine, majestic mountains, and light expenses, is an invitation for anyone who wants to try a new life without giving up too much. This is not just a place where you live cheaper, but where you live more. More smiles, more experiences, more memories worth keeping. If you had 365 visa-free days in your hands, would you pack your bags and start a journey in Georgia? Who knows? That one year might just become the biggest turning point of your life. Don't hesitate to write down the number 3 if you love this place. 2. Armenia, the green gem of the Caucasus. If Georgia enchants with wine and snowy peaks, Armenia captivates like a living history book. And here's the good news for US citizens. You can stay in Armenia for up to 365 days without a visa, a whole year to explore the deep blue Lake Sevan, 1,000-year-old monasteries, and the towering Mount Ararat etched against the sky. The cost of living here is surprisingly light. An American needs only $700 to $900 USD month, while a couple can live comfortably on $200–400 USD. A one-bedroom apartment in central Yerevan costs $300–500 USD, while outside the center it's just $200–300. Food is extremely cheap. Grapes, apples, and tomatoes for only $1–2 USD Klausen. Meals at local eateries $4–8 USD, and even upscale dining rarely exceeds $15–20 USD per person. Utilities, electricity, water, heating, internet, run about $50–100 USD month, with fast internet alone costing just $10–15 USD. Taxis within the city are $2–4 USD, buses just a few cents, so affordable that you'll never worry about transportation. Healthcare in Armenia is modest in public hospitals, but private clinics in Yerevan are modern and very low cost. A private doctor's visit is only $20–30 USD, basic dental work $15–20 USD. Foreigners usually buy international insurance for extra peace of mind. Compared to the massive medical bills in the US, Armenia feels like a tranquilizer for your wallet. Armenians are famously hospitable, treating guests as if they were old friends. For Americans, this is an environment that feels safe enough and warm enough to never feel alone. Nature here is truly diverse. Lake Sivan is called the Green Gem. Volcanic plateaus stretch wide, and grape-filled valleys create a rare landscape. History lovers will be captivated by the Tatev Monastery clinging to the cliffs, or the ancient Garni Temple. Armenia is not as noisy as other famous tourist spots, and this very untouristy quality brings a raw, fresh feeling. A small story. Linda, a retired teacher from Florida, came to Yerevan for 3 months and didn't want to leave. She rented an apartment for $350 USD, spent less than $1,000 USD in a whole month. In the US, I was just an old woman living alone. Here I have a whole new family, she said of the neighbors who always invited her to dinner. However, Armenia's infrastructure is still uneven. Roads full of potholes, winters quite harsh, and English is not widely spoken outside the capital. Some sensitive border areas also need to be avoided, but compared with the low cost of living, the stunning scenery, and the warmth of the people, these downsides are just a few low notes in the symphony. 1 year visa-free, featherlight costs, majestic landscapes, and warm people, Armenia is clearly a destination worth trying. If you had a free year, would you want to pack a few clothes and try living in Armenia to see how life takes a turn? Or are you simply curious what it feels like to sip coffee in Yerevan in the morning, gaze at Lake Sivan in the afternoon, and be pulled into a neighbor's dinner party at night? Share your thoughts. Who knows? Your story might inspire someone else who's also looking for change. 1. Belize, the tropical friend who speaks English. The only country in Central America where English is the official language, so Americans arriving here don't have to worry about language barriers. On top of that, U.S. citizens can enter for 30 days without a visa, and if they like it, they can extend each month for just $25 USD. The cost of living in Belize is relatively light. An American needs about $1,200 USD per month, while a couple can live comfortably on $1,500–$1,800 USD. A one-bedroom apartment near the beach in Ambergris, Caye, or Plasencia costs around $500–$800 USD month, while inland, it's only $300–$500 USD. At the market, tropical fruits like mangoes, bananas, or fresh fish cost just a few dollars per kilo. A simple meal runs $5–$10 USD, while a fancy seafood dinner for 2 is only $20–$25 USD. Utilities like electricity, water, and internet add up to about $80–100 USD month, as long as you don't run the air conditioner all day. Healthcare in Belize includes both public and private options. Private clinics in Belize City and tourist areas are fairly decent, with doctor visits costing 25 to 40 USD each. For serious cases, many expats choose to fly to Mexico for more advanced care. Americans staying long-term often purchase international insurance for peace of mind. The biggest advantage of Belize is its language and tropical lifestyle. Here, you can spend your mornings diving among coral reefs, afternoons drinking Belican beer with friends, and evenings listening to Garifuna music drifting along the sandy shore. The pace of life is slow, friendly, and not at all foreign. It feels like a mini Florida, but with cheaper costs and far more unspoiled scenery. Belize's nature is truly a duet. Turquoise seas with the world's second-largest coral reef, and jungles where ancient Maya ruins still lie in silence. Ocean lovers find paradise, while explorers have deep forests to venture into. Of course, there are downsides. Imported goods are expensive. Belize City has a high crime rate, and rural infrastructure is underdeveloped. But tourist areas like Ambergris Caye or Placencia are safe, convenient, and welcoming, enough to make you feel comfortable living long-term. If it only takes a few hours flying from the US to reach a country that speaks English, has white sandy beaches, turquoise seas, and affordable living, wouldn't you want to try spending a month in Belize? You've just gone through 5 countries, places where Americans can enter without a visa, live safely, live cheaply, and enjoy a freer life. But the most important question isn't, where are they? Because now you already know. The question is, do you dare to take the step to change your life? Life doesn't pay you for hesitation. If you only sit and watch, you'll keep paying expensive rent, keep living under the weight of bills, and miss the chance to wake up each day to the sound of waves instead of honking cars. Comment the country you'd like to set foot in first, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that next week, when I share more secrets about the free life, you'll be the first to hear them. Remember, freedom isn't far. It's only one decision away.